Meanwhile, in Odo's quarters, he and Loxana Troy are playing hide and seek. Again, this is actually charming.
Gotcha that time.
These two are really helping this episode. God, imagine what it would be like without these two. Without the fun that Loxana Troy is bringing. While depressed. What is life? And then her husband arrives. And it's bald white Kang.
That's Mr. Freeze to you.
Luxwana told me all about you.
He can't even pronounce her name correctly. How much can he possibly love her?
You're right, off-screen Kime. Absolutely right. Well, he doesn't want her anymore, but he does want his son. Bastard.
I want to see my son!
Odo finds a loophole in this guy's planetary law. Apparently the child does not belong to the father, but to the husband of the mother. All he has to do is have a sham marriage to Loxana, and he will be the legal father. And then he can just give it up to Loxana. Unless he decides he wants a baby and fights her for it. Be a nice follow-up episode.
It's not as if I was planning to marry someone else.
Being without you takes a lot of getting used to.
Jayal insisted on staying to witness the ceremony.
He did? If anyone present doubts the groom's sincerity, they can challenge the validity of the marriage.
You mean I have to convince Jayal that I want to marry you?
DS9 is filmed before a live studio audience.
Meanwhile, blah!
Jake's getting nosebleeds from writing. Now that is a fragile nerd.
I see we have a sickly boy on our hands.
Did I miss something? I didn't know Odo was getting married till this morning.
I'm not sure he knew either.
Why am I in the lunch lady robes?
I stand before you, here in my home among my worldly possessions, and declare my wish to add this woman to that which is mine. She is as kind as she is beautiful.
So, not kind at all. But in all seriousness, Odo gives another charming and good speech. A very sincere speech that actually manages to convince not Kang.
Loxana saw how different I was. And she didn't recoil.
She found out that I was in Little Nemo in Slumberland, and she did not recoil.
If anyone challenges my claim to her, let them do so now.
Hey, no fair! The soundtrack is helping him!
But then Odo has a date with Dax and Kira on the same night!
And he has to replace that Cardassian Vole before Quark realizes it's dead!
But then Chief O'Brien gets amnesia! Well, at least they didn't go to the kiss to prove that you're really in love idiocy.
You don't even want to see us kiss to confirm that we are in fact a couple? No, you're right, of course you don't. That would be crazy weird.
I cherished you, Loxana. You were my most treasured possession.
I loved you more than my authentic mitten box rocket-firing Boba Fett. Granted, that's a close race, but you won that race.
Aw, honey, do you love me more than your Transformers?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, it's so romantic.
So this guy just loses full custody of the child that he'll never meet. And everyone's okay with this.
It would move me to tears if I still had tears to shed.
You know, for a minute there, I really believed you wanted to marry me. I suppose that we should tell them the truth. But let's wait till after the party.
Lady, you're a f***ing empath! How do you not know that he genuinely meant that?
Elsewhere, Jake is in full Bella mode. So much so that Anaya actually makes him stop and rest. And on his way to see his dad as he arrives, Jake passes out. So Cisco basically arrives back in time just to see his son in the hospital.
Do you have any idea what caused it?
Apparently, someone's been sucking off all his brain vapor.
He's about a quart low, Ben. I put some more in.
And according to Dr. Bashir, his brain has been overclocked for the past few days. Just overstimulated.
That's how I felt when I tried to understand Donnie Darko. I'm going to talk to Odo. See if he knows anything about this. Naya.
Oh, lady. Now you have a fully pissed off Ben Sisko on your trail.
He'll find her. That's what he does. That's all he does.
That night, Anaya teleports into the infirmary to talk Jake into coming back into her parlor.
It's time to finish what we started.
And cut to her feeding off his brain light in the maintenance tunnels.
As one does.
This is your chance to create something that will live on long after you're gone.
But Sisko is tracking her down. Jake can't even hold his paper and pen correctly anymore, but still she's feeding. And Sisko arrives and confronts her.
Get a medical team down here immediately.
Aye, sir.
What are you?
Turns out she is a long-lived creativity vampire who's worked on several artists throughout history, including Keats, because he always had to throw one real-world one in there.
They all die in the end, but look what I gave them in return. Immortality. Their names will live on forever.
I miss Amy Adams. Then she turns in the navvy and leaves.
Hey, listen!
Meanwhile, Luoxana is getting ready to leave.
He's leaving! Our long national nightmare is over!
And Odo sincerely wants her to stay. It might be added this is near the end of season 4 when we find out Odo has a raging disease that's messing with him. And we find out Luoxana isn't unaware of Odo. She just knows that he has affection for her, but no romantic affection. And she has romantic affection for him.
And because she knows it won't end well and won't be good for Odo, she's going to let him go gracefully.
So Luoxana Troy is being mature, self-controlled, wise, and selfless.
I know, it's freaky.
Meanwhile, back in his quarters, Jake is looking at his almost finished novel, but he doubts that it was valid. He thinks that it was really her. Sisko reminds him that even though the creativity vampire was sucking out his brain vapor, as happens in life, it was still Jake's words in Jake's own novel. He just has to figure out how to not have a weirdo sucking on his brain.
Sounds like a plan.
And we end finding out the title of Jake's novel is Anslem, the same novel that he wrote in the alternate future timeline of The Visitor, which was apparently so good you could read it twice in one night. And that's The Muse. There are far worse episodes, even of Deep Space Nine, but this one is just, it's a slog. I used the word stifling before, and it really applies. This is just a slow, heavy episode where nothing much happens.
You know where the plot is going to go 20 minutes in, but they insist on dragging the whole official shenanigan out to its very dead end.
And of course the concept of a vampire that sucks out your creativity is like right out of the original series in its goofiness. Even goofier than the idea of a being that feeds off violence. Although that episode also had Michael and Sarah.
Out! We need no urging to hate humans.
Is this guy just involved in stories that relate around emotions?
I wish there were another way for me to say it. But I cannot.
No, that's not right. Again, the weird part is that Luoxana Troy, even while depressed, is still easily the best part of this episode. And if you've been watching my stuff, you know I can't stand Luoxana Troy. But she's better than the evil Dr. Phlox.
Don't tell the captain.
So as usual, decide for yourselves. But as for me, I am calling The Muse POS DS9.
YouTube gave this a ban, so Matt and I hatched a plan. The end credits we would edit just because we can. Instead, here's a new song,
Toys for Boys,
so the credits go on.
My boy Shaska.
It's public domain, you can't complain, we can't be happy with that. What's the deal with saying we steal? It's fair use, we give them their dues. If it's so bad, you block our reviews. Why link up with iTunes?
Making money there.
So if you're hearing this song, YouTube claimed we done wrong. The song title is still vital, right near the end. You'll see what could have been.
It was fun.
If we just talked like friends.
For no one.
Instead of discussion, you went for expulsion. That's why this tune has gone on. What more can I say? YouTube gets their way. The old music, we won't use it. Copyright wins. They prevent their loss. We repost past toss. No copywriting means no more fighting. I hope you enjoyed what was banned.
DS9 is filmed before a live studio audience. I'm apparently George Takei.